All right, this thing is live. Cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you all had a fantastic week. Before I went live today, the Point Plover Metro Wire broke some interesting news. So there's going to be a lot of drama in Stevens Point this week, I guess. Apparently, what happened was Ron Carlson, who is, he's a pretty well known name in Stevens Point. He sits on the Police and Fire Commission. And he was a cop for the longest time. Like I remember he was a cop back when that group of people tried to do the illegal community garden downtown, and he was like, I vaguely remember him being involved in some way. I don't remember in what capacity, but I remember his name coming up a few times. So I think he was a cop back then. Anyway, the point is, guy's been around for a long time, and he put in his resignation this week. And the reason he did that apparently is because he was told that he was not going to be reappointed to the commission because apparently the city council doesn't want any more middle-aged white guys. So that pissed him off, I guess. And I don't blame the guy. So he put in his resignation. That's it. Now, I briefly browsed this article before I went live. This thing just came out. I literally just got out of the shower and was kind of going over some of the news of the week, and this thing popped up. So, going to be interesting. We'll have some drama to talk about for a while, I guess. So, apparently he was told this by the mayor, and Melissa Johnson, who sits on the city council, who, by the way, has a challenger this year, Marla Schultz in District 5. Melissa Johnson, her name came up in this as being somebody who's really pushing for this. And she is, by the way. I'll walk that back. Don't misunderstand. I'm not trying to say that she's behind trying to keep all middle-aged white guys off of these councils. She's pushing very hard for the government to be more involved in diversity and inclusion. Whatever that means. It's going to mean one thing to one person. It's going to mean fairness to one person. It's going to be racism to another person. Nobody's ever going to agree with, that's why you keep the government out of this kind of thing. But anyway, Melissa Johnson wants the local government to take a more active role. And we've already seen this it's happening at all levels of government. And I don't know if this is supposed to be some kind of outgrowth of the whole BLM thing that happened last summer, or what the deal is behind it. As far as appointments to city government, or gay and lesbian people or people of color being more involved in government, do they have barriers? Are there a lot of barriers to people getting involved in local government? Now, personally, all the friends of mine in the community here who are, gay or lesbian or a person of color, they're not involved with city government because they just simply don't want to be. Because there's nothing there they want to be involved in at all. I think that sucks because there's a few of them who hold very strong libertarian values that I would like to see get more involved in government, but they're people who just have shit to do. I kind of see city government as being for people who just have expendable time, right? Just people who they don't have a lot else going on in their lives, so they can devote a lot of time to this. Or else people who who really care about the people in their communities and really, want to help them out and get things done. Like Makira. Like Makira is one of these people who just volunteers a lot of her time. And like, I knew her before she was a council person. She was like that before too. The work she did with the special needs community was fantastic. And I think what she does on city council is like a carryover of that kind of attitude. But I think a lot of the people that sit on city council, I'm going to throw some names out there. I think people like Tori Jennings, I think people like David Shore, I think these are people that are on city council because they don't got much else going on in life. And so they're like, I guess I can do this. Anyway, so this diversity and inclusion stuff is just, another thing that government is going to screw up, of course, because they're not going to get it right. And yeah, I guess I understand why Melissa Johnson's trying to do this. I think she thinks that it's really going to help gay and lesbian people and people of color get more, these people who have busy lives and want to spend their free time. I will tell you for a fact, sitting around a campfire, BSing with their friends, smoking weed, and drinking beer. You know how I know that? Because I'm there with them. And this is a better time for everybody involved than doing anything related to city government, anything at all. But anyway, there's a big push, and the mayor came out and released a statement last week, I think it was, saying, hey, we got all these positions open for all these committees that citizens can sit on. Come and apply. But he wasn't specifically targeting a certain group of people by saying that. He was just saying everybody should come and apply for these positions. And I mean, there's a lot of hubris here, right? A lot of hubris in that gay and lesbian people or people of color are, they're just so helpless and they can't, figure out how to do anything. And we need liberal white women to help us get involved with local government, right? Like that's kind of how I view it. If let's say I was a minority, right? I'm just a white guy. I'm not a minority in central Wisconsin at all. A chubby white guy for that. So I'm really not in the minority. If I was, and somebody came along and they're like, oh, we want to help you chubby white guys get more involved with local politics, and we want to listen to you and hear what your concerns are and stuff like that. I'd be a little insulted that you were insinuating that I couldn't just speak for myself. I'd be a little insulted that you had to come along and you're going to try to like lift me up on your liberal shoulders and make sure that I'm equal, which I always thought I was, but I don't know. Maybe that's just the complete absolute wrong perspective to have. Maybe Melissa Johnson has it right. Maybe everybody who's not a chubby white guy needs a lot of help to get where they are. I don't know. I don't know that there's a lot of roadblocks being put up for people like that, but what do I know? Anyway, I just went off on a whole tangent there. Didn't even really get to the point of the news article that came out, which Melissa Johnson's name was brought up. And as I said, she is kind of on top of this and pushing all this stuff. And Ron Carlson was very much insulted by being told that he was just not going to be appointed again, or that he wasn't going to be reappointed to this committee because he's a middle-aged white guy. So that's the breaking news. I think there's going to be a lot of fallout to this. It came from the Metro Wire. I'm assuming, Brandy wrote the article and probably tracked everything down, but there's going to be other articles that come out about this throughout the week. I think probably both the mayor and Melissa Johnson are going to have to do a little damage control on this. We'll see. I don't know, but it's just, it's local media. Everybody will forget tomorrow. Like nobody even cares what's happening locally anyway, right? I mean, I do for the sake of the stream, I do, but most people are more concerned with, bitching about what Biden's doing, falling downstairs while he's trying to get into an airplane and stuff like that. Like nobody really cares about what's happening locally anyway. So probably this will all blow over and nobody will care. But I'm going to follow it. I'm going to see where it goes because, like I said, the guy's been involved with the Police and Fire Commission for. I don't know that he's been involved with the Police and Fire Commission for very long. I'm sure the article said it, but I'm sure I missed that detail when I just skimmed through to get the important points. But I mean, it's been a while. It's been a while that he's been on the commission. It's been an even longer while that he's been involved with the community. So it's kind of a big deal. He's pretty well known. So I'm curious to see how it all goes. Anyway, cheers. I'm saying cheers with my tea instead of beer, just because I'm forcing myself to not drink so much. Ugh. Anyway, so that was kind of the big news right off the bat there. And like I said, I'm going to follow it. I'm going to see where it goes. Drama. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants the drama, right? Like how boring city government is, so boring as it is, that when a big juicy piece of drama like this comes out, that's good for entertainment value. But anyway, Melissa Johnson. I was going to talk about her anyway tonight. It just happens that her name is coming up twice. And this is because one of the biggest differences, I think, happening between Melissa Johnson and her challenger, Marla Schultz, which I will schedule something with Marla. We'll do a little stream together and I'll cut it out. I'll post it on Facebook when I'm allowed to post again on Facebook. But what the newspaper, the Stevens Point Journal, did like a little, like they sent a questionnaire. They did it to me when I was running for city council too. I didn't fill it out though, but they were talking about some of the things that they planned on doing if they got elected. And one of the things that, Melissa said that kind of concerned me is that she apparently wants to push for a citywide mask mandate, which at this point, what are you doing? What are you doing here? This thing is almost over, okay? The vaccines are out. Everybody's been wearing masks pretty religiously for a year now. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish at this point? And it just, it got me thinking about how this whole COVID thing has gone from follow the science to literally almost like some kind of weird cult. The masks didn't do anything, okay? The lockdowns didn't do anything. And we all have the numbers to see that. So, like, why are you pushing for more of what's not working? That just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But apparently she's going to try. And look, she'll get it passed on the city council. The city council is made up of a lot of people who, for whatever reason, are scared to death of COVID-19. I don't know if it's just a question of, no, I do know. I think it's just a matter of the media that you're consuming. Otherwise, why did this become a political issue? Like, how does a virus become a political issue unless the political media that you're consuming, whether you're on the right or the left, is telling you two completely different things? Like, why are people on the right completely not afraid of this thing and completely against all the masks and the lockdowns and everything else, while people on the left are generally very accepting of the masks and the lockdowns and everything else? That can only be explained because you're consuming two completely different kinds of media. That's all it is. So anyway, she's going to try to push that apparently. I mean, Marla, I hope you win then if that's the case, because that's just insane. There's no reason to be doing that anymore. It's time to stop with all the masks and all the craziness. Okay, you guys that are really afraid of it, you have your vaccine, so please stop. Because look, like I said all the way back last March, this is not going away. It's a virus. Once it's in the environment, it's going to be here forever. You're not getting rid of it. Okay? It's going to be another flu. You're probably going to have to go in every year and get your COVID-19 booster shot. And there's going to be variations of COVID. So they're going to have to come out with vaccines for that too. You're going to have to accept at some time that this is not going away. If you think that we're just going to do this for until there's no COVID left in the universe, then you're wrong. Then be prepared to do this forever, because that's what you're going to be doing. So, I wish people would just start to get over it. But like I said, this has turned into some kind of weird, creepy, like fear cult almost, where people, if they can't yell at you in a public space for not wearing a mask anymore, it's like they've lost all sense of value or any sense of doing anything important. Like I think a lot of people right now feel like they're part of something, right? They feel like they're part of the solution. We're all in this together, and they all parrot the same slogans and do the same things and demean all those evil, crazy people who won't wear their masks. And it's just weird. It's weird how people react to this. People's families are broken up over all of this. People they have falling outs with friends. And look, to be perfectly honest, I'm not going to lose any friends over this. Like, I have friends who are like 100% on board with like all the COVID stuff. I'm still going to be friends with them. But even my mind has been changed as far as how I look at a lot of people like that. I know going forward that if things ever got really bad, and like I know which people are going to just buy the official narrative, right or wrong, good or bad, no matter what. If all it takes is being overexposed to a particular party line or regime line for them to just lose all sense of rational ability. Like, I already know who those people are now. I'm not going to stop being friends with them, but I learned something about them that honestly I would have rather not have known about them. But whatever. I'm not going to stop being friends with them in a situation where I will have to trust them in some way. If that ever comes up, God forbid that ever comes up, if that ever happens, but I just won't. And I think that's kind of sad. I've seen that happen within my own way of thinking, within my own brain. And I'm someone who's generally pretty detached from all the craziness of society. I don't consume a lot of media one way or the other that kind of gets me to go along and get along. And so I don't know. If that's happened to me, I understand. Somebody who's fairly resistant to all that stuff, then I can only imagine how crazy it must be for the people that just consume this stuff nonstop. And, I'm guessing Melissa Johnson's one of them. What else can explain the fact that you're going to try to push a mask mandate a year into this now? With vaccines going out like crazy to everybody who wants them? Really? A mask mandate? It's weird. It's just really weird to me. It's like people some people are just having too good of a time for this, I guess, and they don't want the good time to end. But whatever, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to try to get Marlon to talk more about that, I suppose. Okay, this week, 20 minutes into the stream, and I haven't talked about anything yet. All right, this week, as far as the city government stuff, not a lot to talk about. It's just all city council. City council was this week. The big meeting where finally all of the insanity that comes through all the committees finally ends up here, and all the council members can argue about it. It's not that exciting. They don't usually argue about anything. This month they had something to argue about, and it's something that I talked about last week. It was the business thing, the $5,000 to go to the Stevens Point Alliance. So they did argue about that, but other than that, there wasn't really anything at all that happened this week in city government. And I love weeks like that. And mercifully, the city council meeting was only an hour long this week. So good job, guys. Thank you for that. I really appreciate when you can keep these meetings, right around an hour. That's about as much time as I want to put into this. So I always appreciate that. Now, before each meeting, you can sign up and speak 3 minutes on whatever topic you want. Doesn't matter. And I always forget to do this every week. Every week I forget to do this. I've been meaning to do this for at least the last couple of months. So anyway, Bill Sherrill, well-known name in town. He's involved with the renovation project on that big house at the corner of Division and Main Street. They're going to turn it into, like right now it's college housing. They're going to turn it into a single family, and it's going to be a pretty good renovation project when it's done. No doubt about it. But he's concerned about the Business 51 corridor, which is like the big talk right now. It's like the big debate in town, whether they should, widen these lanes on the street and, bring it down from 4 lanes to 3 lanes so they can incorporate bike lanes, which everybody in town loves. Everybody in town loves the bike lanes. Just ask anybody in Stevens Point. We're all in favor of that. We thought it was a wonderful investment of, close to $500,000. We all want to thank Tori Jennings and David Shore and all the other people for bringing us bike lanes. So Bill's concern is that he's going to lose about 10 feet worth of yard if they expand the road right there, and specifically into a turn lane is what he said. Now, he wants them to hurry up and put out some kind of plan. Bill, you know how government works. There's nothing hurry up about how government works, all right? You're going to be waiting months and months and months and months and months to get the answer that you want, very likely, because it's all going to have to go through committee, and then they're going to have hearing sessions and to at least pretend that they're listening to people. And look, this is going to take a long time before anything is settled on this. But yeah, basically, and I totally get what the guy is saying too. He wants them to hurry up and let him know how this is all going to turn out, because he's putting an ass load of money into this property, and the city is going to take forever to figure out what they want to do with it. So yeah, I feel for the guy, and not just this guy, but everybody who has investment money on the line in some way, only to have the city come along and say, hey, we got this great, big, wonderful project that we're going to kind of dump all over your investment here. Because that happens a lot, right? Happens a lot. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Bill. I feel for you. I did not feel for you when you came out against the Airbnb stuff, by the way, last year. So, but I feel for you here. This is a crappy thing to have happen. I understand. I get it. And along those same lines, Marla Schultz, the contender for District 5, also came on, and she had some concerns about a neighbor in her district who is just having apparently a difficult time trying to navigate the dark waters of city law and city permits to redevelop their property too. And again, I say this over and over and over again. We are the city, okay? We live here. We build the place. Everything that's good and wonderful about the city of Stevens Point is not from the government. It is from the people that live here and the people that invest a lot of their own time and capital into making it a wonderful place. And when I see stuff like this, and by the way, when I ran for city council, I heard, I don't even remember how many stories from people in my own district having this same complaint. But why? Why are people having this complaint? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. City government is supposed to be there to facilitate us and our needs. If you've built up this entire structure within the city government that just stonewalls people every time they want to do something, every time they want to make an improvement in the city, then the city government has failed completely to do its job. There's no reason this stuff should be complicated. There's no reason that Marla Schultz should be coming before city council and basically entreating everybody who sit on the council to try and make this stuff easier to understand, to try and streamline these processes. The fact that somebody had to come up in front of city council and suggest this suggests a failure on the part of the city government. It should never be that way. It should only exist to help us who live and work and build this city. But it doesn't. It only serves city government. And this is what I talked about last week when I was commenting on what the mayor said about, and by the way, we're going to see a little more of that now with the mayor this time, about how the city puts so many roadblocks in people's way. And then when the city comes along later and lifts these roadblocks, it thinks it's doing people a favor when it should have never had the roadblocks there to begin with, right? So this is another case of that happening. Yeah, Marla, I feel for you. Dave Iden was the other person who spoke that I just wanted to comment on. This isn't the first time he's come up and spoken here either. I think he did last month and maybe the month before too. Anyway, he comes on every month and he's like, start meeting in person. Stop doing the stupid Zoom meetings. And he always brings up Portage County, like the Portage County government. They haven't been doing Zoom meetings for a while. Now, I don't follow the Portage County government like that much. Every time something interesting happens, I might check in with a committee or something. But yeah, they've all been in person. I don't know if the Portage County government, the council, has been meeting in person. I'm assuming they do, but I mean, I could be wrong about that. But at least the committees are meeting in person because a lot of people have been attending them lately. Again, because of Melissa Johnson and her diversity and inclusion stuff. So yeah, Dave Iden, I mean, I agree. I don't really understand why the city is still, I mean, let them all get their vaccinations and then they won't have any excuse for not meeting in person. So, all right. Yeah, the first thing that they wanted to, the first order of business, and I really appreciate this, extension of the open intoxicant rule for downtown. Again, this was one of the things that city government did to help downtown businesses. Well, no, it was an impediment that the city government put there a long time ago because people can't be responsible, apparently. And it was an impediment that had to be lifted in the age of COVID. So, I mean, that's what they did there. And I think this is the third time now that they've extended it. They extended it once last summer. Oh, Cindy Nebel was pissed. She did not look. Cindy Nebel hates everything that's associated with having a good time and just having fun. Okay. So she was pissed. Like every doomer out there who says, oh, well, if the government just, here's what it comes down to. There are people out there who don't believe people can be free without their permission, right? Because they have all kinds of excuses for that too. Well, if people are free to do blah, 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 then all of these horrible things are going to happen. Now, it never works out that way, right? Like any libertarian will tell you, oh, yeah. You know, people say that all the time. And depending on the kind of person you are, or I shouldn't say that, who you are as a person, you know, your upbringing, what your moral values are, things like that will all determine what people should and shouldn't be free to do with any given situation. Cindy Nebel doesn't like people having fun. She doesn't think people should stay up past 9 o'clock at night. She doesn't think people should drink. She doesn't think people should do a lot of things. And she's spent a long time on the council letting us know what she doesn't think people should have the freedom to do. And this is all just her conditioning, right? Like, I don't know what her upbringing looked like or anything like that, but it's, you know, somewhere along the line, she developed all of these, you know, this web of beliefs that if people are free to do certain things, then her life is somehow harmed by that. The open intoxicant thing was one of these things. Oh, yes. And by the way, I titled this the last Cindy Nebel council meeting. So we should take a moment to appreciate that fact. She will no longer be pestering us with all her stupid little rules about, like, what was it last? She wanted to like regulate how people stack wood, and I mean, just all kinds of insane things. She's an insane person. Okay, she is an insane person who is always fussing about what her neighbors are doing, and thank God she is finally done. I believe her replacement comes in right after the April elections. I think that's when so Cindy Nebel will be gone by the time that happens. They won't have another council meeting until after the new people come in. Unless I have my dates wrong, but I don't think I do. I think that's the case. So we can all take great satisfaction in knowing that Cindy Nebel is finally going to leave us alone. So now we just got to get rid of those other two pests, Tory Jennings and David Shore, and that would go a long way to helping. Anyway, that's just a side note. Extending this. This was actually a unanimous vote, surprisingly. Even Cindy Nebel, for all of her doom and gloom and all the horrible things that were going to happen. I mean, you would think that we were on the verge of the apocalypse if we let people start milling around outside with the drink in their hand. She was absolutely beside herself against this. Even she voted in favor of this. You know why? Because she had no reason not to. After all of her going on and on and on and on last year about how this was a terrible idea and we were all going to die, she actually saw the reality for what it was and realized, okay, we're not all going to die. I guess I would have appreciated if she would have got up and said, you know what? I was really, really terribly wrong about this. And this made me rethink, you know, my entire perspective of reality. You know, maybe people should be able to just go out and no, none of that. But she did vote yes. So that was something. So she's going to leave us with with at least a positive vote that came from her. Anyway, that was okay. Good. And, you know, keep it going. Just change the ordinance. Let people do it forever and ever and ever. Just don't keep renewing it. Just change the ordinance and just let people do it. It's not that big of a deal. You're going to have some problems. The problems will arise. That's not an indication that city council needs to rush to order and pass an ordinance because one or two idiots, screw something up or do something dumb. But that's always how it happens, right? It's always just a handful of people that screw it up for the rest of us. That's always a saying, but it should never be that way. People should only screw things up for themselves. And that comes to this as much as it comes to anything else in life. You should be responsible for your actions. I should not be responsible for your dumb decisions. Okay? And that includes like open intoxicants or anything else. I should be able to walk over to Gerke Field with a beer in my hand and watch people, sit in the bleachers and watch people jog around the track and think, if I just quit drinking and I did that, I could probably slim down and get into really good shape. And then I can drink some more and think about something like that. I should be able to do that. Like there's nothing inherently evil or harmful about doing that. There's just an ordinance on the books that say I can be very heavily fined for doing that. Just stupid. It's a stupid thing. Okay. So the next list of items on the agenda were mainly, there were some permits, conditional use permits and stuff like that. Again, everybody knows how I feel about permits. I don't have to go over that. But they all get approved. As long as they all get approved, that's really all that matters. I'd still rather people didn't have to pay a lot of money for these permits, pay a lot of money for these permissions. But anyway, so then we have a list of items that are contracts with businesses to fix roads and roofs and stuff like that. The city approved $99,730.76 for patching, road patching of, potholes and things like that. Everybody sees them. They do this every year. $99,000, almost $100,000 to do that. And then there was $53,328.95 for curb, gutter, and sidewalk repairs. There was $27,082 for Buchholz Park playground equipment. And then there was $416,055 for roofing, so utility roofing, all amounting to the total of $596,208.26. $596,208. I keep saying that wrong. Never mind. Almost $600,000. The next item up was $5,000 for the Downtown Business Alliance to use for advertising for events that they put on, by the way, for everybody in town. $5,000. Boom, big debate. Oh, we can't have that. Everybody spoke their piece on this. Almost everybody spoke their piece on this, if not everybody. I don't remember if Polly Dalton said anything, but doesn't matter. She voted for it. Now, this thing did not pass. It was overwhelmingly voted in favor of, but the reason it didn't pass is because the money for this is contingency money. It is money that is basically like a rainy day fund, right? Like an emergency fund. It is not money that's budgeted for. So the argument was that because of COVID-19, because of the stuff that happened with the downtown businesses, that this was, an acceptable cost, a very minimal cost, as Jeremy Slawinski said. $5,000. So the council just got done approving, $600,000 for all these projects. Fine, good. You have to keep up with this stuff. Otherwise, you're just going to be paying an ass load more money down the road, right? You got to keep up with it. So, but $5,000, it's, just a drop in the bucket. So the reason I read all those totals was to kind of give you an idea for how much the city government is really, they're in charge of a lot of money. There's literally millions of dollars that go through, approval and budgets every year. So $5,000 is the is the big sticking point with people. Now, I kind of jotted down the gist of why some of them. So, like Thomas Leak, he said, look, it's not specific enough. It doesn't say exactly what it's going to go for. And that's the one argument that Tori Jennings used last week that I said in the live stream. Okay, look, this at least approaches an argument, right? Okay, I get it. I will concede that point. And that was the big sticking point for Leak and why you didn't vote for it. So it wouldn't have passed anyway. Like, Leak would have been the one guy that theoretically could have voted for this, but that wouldn't have been enough. Okay. Like I said, it was a contingency. Because of that, they need a 3/4 vote. And that means that 9 out of 11 alders would have had to vote for this. So Tom Leak said no, which is neither here nor there because 4 people voted against this, so it wasn't enough. And of course, all of the favorite alders of this live stream, Alder 1, Tori Jennings, Alder 2, David Shore, Alder 3, Cindy Nebel, all said no. So this was dead in the water. It wasn't going to go anywhere because the people that frankly we knew would vote against this all voted against it. Because they're only people who vote in favor of things that are stupid and that only a very fractional minority of people in the city want. They are not people who are going to give a little back to the business community that makes something amazing that the entire city enjoys, right? They're not those kinds of people. So I thought I would. Oh, and Sean Morrow, he was the guy that flipped. He voted no last week in the committee meeting, in the finance committee, and he changed his mind this week. And he said, you know what, let's give him a chance. Let's see what happens with the money. Let's see where it goes. It's only $5,000. And everybody kept saying this. Or a lot of people that were in support of it were, this is so not a lot of money. Just let them have it and let's see what they do with it. Okay. You can always go back later and be like, hey, so what'd you do with that $5,000 we gave you? If they just took the money and spent it on coke and hookers, then yeah, the people on the council would probably be a little pissed about that. But knowing the people in the Business Alliance, they would have tracked every dollar of it and then brought like an itemized invoice back to city council and said, here, this is what we did with it. And we really benefited everybody by doing this. That's what they would have done. But because the proposal itself wasn't specific enough, it lost. Well, look, let's be honest. If it was to the penny specific, you might have got Leak to vote on it and say, okay, yeah, let's give them money. You probably would have got them on your side. But the other 3, 1, 2, and 3, thing 1, 2, and 3, they all would have said no. So it didn't matter. It really didn't matter. David Shore, we often get subjected to the deep thoughts of David Shore. And, this time his comment was something like, yeah, to me, this was a really close call. And I recognize both sides, but I think that what we're doing for the downtown area is, he said it in such a weird way that I couldn't follow it. The way in which we support is more in line with what we do. He said it like something like that. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then he was done. And then he was done talking and it went on to the next person. I'm like, what was that? What are you saying here? Well, that's what he had to say. My main or the main way in which we support is more in line with what we do. I'll have to go back and get an exact quote, but it was weird. Whatever he meant, that doesn't matter. He voted against it. So it was really close, but he wasn't convinced apparently. So Jeremy Slowinski, again, the whole, this is such a minimal amount of money. He's right. It was such a minimal amount of money. Tori Jennings again lied. She flat out lied in this meeting by saying that, well, first of all, she said, this isn't a sustainable economic policy. Neither are bike lanes until you put, toll booths there. What are you saying, lady? Anyway, she throws out some kind of jab about the bid district being almost entirely dead, which I thought that was a point somebody else had raised, that the bid district, and like I talked about this in another live stream, I don't want to get like a whole lot into it. Basically, the idea was that the Downtown Alliance was going to have, well, I guess the city government was going to create a district downtown where the Downtown Alliance could put money into it, and all of this money could be used for advertising and for things specifically related to anything happening with the city, such as Corn on the Curb or the parade or all these other things that they do right now, but they would just have more financing for it. Anyway, she threw that out there. I don't know anything about it being dead, so I'll have to ask some people about that. But I really don't know anything about the bid district being dead at all. But she threw it out there, so I mean, she's probably right about that. I mean, why would she just say that if it wasn't true? But anyway, where she's a liar, where she flat out lies again, is by saying, I'm the only alder person who attends these meetings. No, you're not. Makira attends the meetings. She is an alder person, right? In fact, I'm pretty sure Makira has attended more meetings with the Downtown Business Alliance than Tori Jennings ever has. So, Tori Jennings, you're a big, fat, stinking liar. You are a liar. No, you're a tall, skinny liar, but you're still a liar. So, yeah, let's call her for what it is. I mean, in the stream last week, I certainly insinuated very heavily that she's a liar. She's certainly very manipulative when she's trying to get her way on something. But here she flat out comes out and lies and says, I'm the only alder person in these meetings. No, you're not. In fact, you're not the only alder person that's attended most of the meetings. Makira is. And Makira has too much class to call her out on this too. Like, Makira puts in more work with the downtown people than Tori Jennings can ever even imagine doing. I mean, let's give Makira her due, because she actually likes downtown. No, she actually loves downtown. And she does whatever she can. And this is just her as a council person anyway. She does whatever she can to facilitate whatever needs they have. And she listens to them, and she tries to do what she can to help out. Tori Jennings sits in these meetings and then comes out in public committees and insinuates they eat babies and sacrifice virgins. That's Tori Jennings' contribution to her sitting in these meetings. And now she's just coming out and lying. Tori Jennings is a scummy person. She is such a scummy person. And man, again, I say this all the time. Anybody who wants to run against her in District 1, please, for the love of God, let me know. I will do everything I can to help you. I will give you money, whatever money I can to help you, okay? She's just a horrible, horrible person. So pretty ridiculous. Again, Tori Jennings. Cindy Nebel, she kind of makes the same argument that the mayor made last week that I took issue with. And, she said, oh, we already do so much. We, again, it comes back to like, we changed all these ordinances. And coming from somebody like Cindy Nebel, who was so dead set against changing any of these, She didn't like the outdoor dining thing that they changed. She didn't like the open intoxicant thing. She didn't like any of it. She doesn't like people staying up past 9 o'clock either. So she, of course she's going to say that, right? Anyway, so it was Shore, Nebel, Jennings, of course, that all voted against it. So it was doomed to fail anyway. And again, Leak, he probably could have been convinced to vote for it, but his argument was, well, there's not a specific amount of information here. So anyway, it failed. So for all my ranting last week, to be honest, I knew it would fail. I knew that 1, 2, and 3 were going to be right there to just stomp the life right out of it. So that's what happened at the city council meeting this week. So I'm going to shut this thing down. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. If you have any final comments, put it into the comments now and I will answer. Otherwise, I'm just going to get something to eat and drink my tea instead of my beer. It's some kind of hibiscus berry thing. Since I quit drinking, I started drinking a lot more tea. And there's a lot of really fantastic teas out there. I'll tell you what. So yeah, this one was a really tasty one too. And I never knew how many amazing teas were actually available. But anyway, okay, guys, I'm not going to sit here and talk about tea all night. I'm going to go get some food and then I'm going to read. And if you ever want to talk about what I'm reading, we can talk about that too. Right now, it's the Wheel of Time series. So anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to shut this thing down. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next week, 7 o'clock, right here. Later.